Alright, hi guys. So I'm trying something new today. You will have to message me and tell me how you like this style. I like it better because you can see my face while I'm talking to you and you can see my whole body. It's like you're in my classroom. So welcome to the art room. This is my board. This week, 5th grade, we are talking about balance. So our learning targets for this week are: number 1, I can identify and use balance in my art, and we'll talk a little bit more about how to do that here in a minute. Number 2, I'm going to learn about different styles of lettering. Lettering is a super awesome way to incorporate creativity into our daily lives. And then number 3, as always, we're going to use our best craftsmanship. We're going to make sure we are working until we're proud of ourselves, that we're filling our whole paper, and that's especially important this week when we're talking about balance. The first artist that we're looking at, his name is Jasper Johns. He was really famous for doing a lot of kind of pop art style art. So he would draw lots of letters in his art. You may have seen some of his artworks that kind of look like comic strips. They say things like pow and bam. He uses letters a lot in his work. This painting is one of Mrs. Turner's favorite ones of his because A, I love the colors in it, and B, it's a little bit of an optical illusion. You really have to squint at it to be able to see the numbers super clearly. But you can see that he used paint in a way to number from 0 to 9, and he A, filled his canvas really well. He was using great craftsmanship. And then B, it's also balanced really well. If you look at the colors, not only are his numbers balanced really evenly, so he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top, 5 on the bottom. So those are balanced equally. He's divided it into almost a grid. But if you notice, if you look at this really carefully, the colors are also super balanced. So he's got a little bit of yellow in each of these areas. He's got a little bit of red. So he's made sure that whatever color he's adding to each section so that his whole work is balanced and you're not seeing a ton of bright yellow on this side and a ton of dark colors on this side. That wouldn't be balanced very well. This artist's name is Stuart Davis, and then this artist's name is Robert Indiana, and they're both very famous for these particular works of art. These are some of their most well-known works. Stuart Davis was really famous for his collage style work, so all of this is paper cut. You can see some of these areas are very, very small and detailed. He must have worked really hard to do that. But his work is really balanced as well. So you can see that he started adding some letters here. There's some letters up here. There's some shapes on the side. Again, he was really thoughtful about how to balance his color as well. You can see there's a little bit of green in all of these areas of his page. There's a little bit of yellow in all of these areas. If all of his yellow color was over here, and all of his green was over on the other side, it wouldn't appear very balanced. But because he used little bits of those colors all around his work, it's really balanced to our eye. He balanced this kind of shape right here with kind of a similar shape on top of it. There's a long shape on this side. Imagine if we were looking at this work and he had only included this part, and this whole area of his paper was black. It wouldn't feel very balanced to us. We would look at that and say, all of his artwork is on this one corner of his page. That's not very balanced to our eye. This work by Robert Indiana, he started off with this painting. It says love, and this O is kind of tilted in a creative way. And you may have seen this before because this spread like wildfire after he put it out. People started putting it on t-shirts. He's got a bunch of big love sculptures in a lot of different cities around the US. I've seen one in Chicago. They're huge. They're like as tall as our ceiling. And it's just these letters arranged in this kind of creative way. So you may have seen this before and think, Mrs. Turner, that's not that creative. I've seen that before. But it came from Robert Indiana. He was the first one to do this kind of arrangement of letters. And this is balanced in a really nice way because you have 4 letters that are taking up the whole piece of paper. He has also been thoughtful about balancing his colors. I don't know if it's going to show up super good on my screen, but it will show up in your slideshow really well, so take a look at it. This blue area, there's little areas of blue all around his paper. There's areas of green, and the letters are all consistently red. There's 4 letters, so it's automatically balanced to our eye because he's filling the paper with these 4 letters. So there's 2 on top, 2 on bottom. That's very balanced. The thing that he did to add a little bit of interest so that it's just not plain letters is he tilted this O so it looks like it's kind of leaning on the L right there. And that was his typography, or his lettering art, was to arrange the letters in that way. So lettering has always been an art form since we started writing things down. People have started trying to decorate those writings. So these are 2 examples. People used calligraphy a lot before the invention of the printing press. Every single book, manuscript, piece of text was handwritten by someone, and they spent a lot of time on it. So imagine if you were handwriting a book, you would want it to look nice so that people would want to read it and keep it for the future. You wouldn't want to spend weeks and weeks and weeks handwriting this book and it look really sloppy and gross. So back in the day, everybody who wrote had very nice handwriting. They practiced their handwriting. They used calligraphy. They used cursive a lot. It was a big deal for your handwriting to be very neat and tidy. That's not really the case anymore because now that we have computers, you can pull up a super fun font and have very nice writing because of that font. So your handwriting doesn't necessarily have to be beautiful. But this is something that's always been kind of important to me, was working on my handwriting, because I think it says a lot about you and your creativity and your personality when your handwriting is very unique. So this week, we are looking at a bunch of different styles of lettering, and you have the freedom to choose what kind of lettering you want your letters to be. So we have some examples of a bunch of different fonts over here. You have a lot of font choices this week, and you might look at some different fonts, even other than these. See what you can find online, and then practice those letters. Before we do our artwork, artists always practice things first. So if I'm going to try to do like a block style letter, I want to practice all the letters that I'm going to use first. So if I'm spelling out my name, which I think I'm going to do for my artwork this week, I am practicing all the letters in my name to make sure they look how I want them to, and if I need to make adjustments, I can. So I would suggest that you look at a font while you are drawing your lettering this week and be inspired by some of these styles. I really like this style, and I always wish, I need to just practice more, but I've always wished I could draw in kind of a graffiti style. I think it's so cool. I just need to practice those letters. So for this week, you're going to, first of all, collect the materials you want to use, and we'll talk about in my demo video the types of materials you could use. I think markers, colored pencils would work great for this. If you're a super neat person, you could definitely give paint or something a little bit more messy a try. But I would encourage you to use a detail marker or a pen of some kind. So when you're drawing your letters, you want them to be colorful. But I would encourage you to take either a thin pen or a thin marker and outline everything this week so that your letters really stand out from your background, okay? You're going to, number 2, decide what style of letters you want to create. So look at some fonts like I suggested. Find a style of letter that you like and practice those letters first. And then you're going to decide how you're going to arrange them. So you want to be really thoughtful, and I'll show you how I do this in my demo, of how you're stacking those letters so that your artwork is balanced, right? If your letter tower looks like it's leaning to one side or it's not filling the space very well, we're gonna add some things so that we can balance that for ourselves, okay? So let's move on to our demo video. I'll see you over there. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is grab a piece of paper or something to draw on, and then you're going to decide which way you want to turn your paper today. You can either go horizontal, side to side, or vertical, up and down. And then you're just going to start, hopefully you've practiced first drawing some letters in different styles. So I'm going to do kind of a mixture of letter styles today, I believe. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start with the last letter of my name. So My last name is Turner. I'm going to start with R because I want my letters to stack from the top down to the bottom so that you can read it, T-U-R-N-E-R, all the way down. You could mix up your letters if you want. Take your name and mix up those letters. You could choose a phrase that's really important to you, like hope or love or something like that, and choose how to arrange those letters. I would suggest to you that you pick a word or your name. If your name doesn't have a lot of letters in it, I would suggest that you pick a word or choose your name, something with more than like 4 letters in it, especially words with like 2 or 3 letters. That's just not going to be enough to fill our paper very well. So I'm going to start here at the bottom, and I'm going to start making an R over here, and I'm kind of tilting my letters as I go. And I think I'll add this one kind of a block style. I'm of course starting with pencil and drawing light until I get it right. I hope you have had a chance to practice your letters before you start drawing on your piece of paper, because letters is just like anything else in art. We just have to practice until we're good at it. No one is born just naturally good at hand lettering. It just takes practice. So now I've done an R that I'm sort of happy with. And I'm just going to continue drawing and stacking my letters up on top of each other. And then once I'm done with all my letters, we'll go back and we'll look at the spaces in between the letters and see what we need to fill in order to make our paper balanced. So here I go with another letter. Okay. So now that all my letters are kind of drawn out in a sketchy style, the way I like them, I'm of course going to go over this with some kind of marker in a minute and then erase all of my pencil lines and the mistakes that I made. But I want us to take a look at this work of art right now. So my letters are kind of stacked on top of each other. I stacked them at kind of an angle, so each one is kind of turning in a different direction. That helps to balance our paper. If everything is either straight up and down, all facing the same way, or they're kind of alternating the way that those letters are leaning, that creates a sense of balance. And I think that this looks decently balanced, except for there's open areas here, there's a little bit of open space here, and there's some unbalanced space here at the top. And I'm noticing that because I have these big blank areas, and then it doesn't look like my letters are stable or sitting on top of something. So if I'm going to balance it with something big over here, I may need to fill it with something little over here so that everything is kind of rounded off and balanced. I definitely need something large down here to kind of balance out this letter being over here. So what we're going to do is, in between all of the letters, you can of course choose whatever you want to draw in those areas. If you want to draw, like say you're super into sports and you want to draw a bunch of different sports gear in between these spaces to kind of balance out your letters, that would be awesome. If you want to choose a design of some kind, like one particular design to kind of fill in these areas, like maybe you want to draw a bunch of flowers in the areas that need balancing. I think I'm just going to choose, kind of like our inspiration photograph, a bunch of different patterns to fill into these areas. So now I'm pretty pleased with how my letter stack is looking. It feels really balanced to me. It's almost like a Christmas tree, going from the largest group at the bottom, a little bit smaller, all the way to the top. Now you could arrange these like 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. It depends on how many letters are in your word that you're trying to create, how you're going to arrange those. You don't have to stack them like I did. You could kind of be inspired by Jasper Johns, his number artwork. He just laid them out like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and filled his paper really nicely. That would work well too. But we do want to see a little bit of creative details kind of surrounding your letters this week. So whether you're drawing some symbols to represent things that you enjoy or something that says something about you, whether you're just adding in patterns, like I could have gone in and just made these polka dots, put some stripes over here, maybe a few zigzags in this area, and chosen another pattern from down here. That would look really nice. So we don't care what you balance your work with this week, only that your work is balanced and that you don't have these areas where it looks like your letters are about to tip over and fall onto the floor, okay? This is the one week where I personally would be okay if you left your background white, as long as you're filling your paper really well with all of the letters and the space fillers that we're using to balance, and that you're taking your time using your best craftsmanship in these areas, okay? What I don't want to see from your art this week is you not taking your time and just going, well, I'm just going to do my regular handwriting and kind of slap these letters all the way around my paper, okay? And then be like, well, she said to add patterns, so I'm gonna, right? This would not be a balanced work of art. You're not being thoughtful about where you're placing things, and you're not using your best craftsmanship. Really try this week to take a look at some different styles of lettering and then try to copy that. It's a super cool skill to be able to write your name or write a word really cool. So I hope you guys have fun being creative with your lettering this week and making sure that you're balancing your work. This is a good skill to use for the rest of our artwork this year going forward, is making sure every time you create something that you're looking at and you're saying, is this balanced to my eye? Does something look like it's heavier on one side than the other? And how am I going to even that out in your artwork? We can't wait to see what you make, and I'll see you next week. Bye.